good news, bad news, more news for Bitcoin miners. And it's not just about miners. Anyone who's thinking about getting into mining, thinking about getting out of mining, or simply exposed to Bitcoin in any way, shape, or form, this video has some news that you need to know. So let's dig into it. Not financial advice. Disclaimer, I love Bitcoin, I love Bitcoin mining, and I'm building out a Bitcoin mining farm. Just so everything's crystal clear. I'm just sick of bad news, okay? Bitcoin mining reserves are at a 12-year low. Here's why. Bitcoin mining reserves have dropped to just 1.91 million BTC, the lowest level since apparently February 2010. Okay, so bad news, like, this bad news, bearish indicator, stuff like that. But at some point, things are so bad, you're like, are we at the bottom? And that's when we pull the mega buy. This data is according to blockchain analytics firm Into the Block. And they're really getting into the block data, so I like the naming, makes sense. Bitcoin miner reserves have fallen below that 2 million BTC mark. Again, first surpassed Feb 2010. Only 46 days in 2022 have they been above that 2 million BTC mark. The scary part of a prolonged bear market is really especially for these companies that borrowed millions of dollars against their mining equipment, like CleanSpark and Argo. They've seen month after month of losses. We already talked about this in the previous video, but Compute North filed for bankruptcy. Iris Energy sold $100 million in equity to generate some cash. And Compass Mining shut down its Georgia operations, and one of the biggest Bitcoin mining pools, Poolin, froze their withdrawals. Now, that's very scary. I'm kind of intrigued with this Compass Mining thing because all they've done is middleman hardware, and to my knowledge, they don't operate any sort of mining actually themselves. But we'll talk a bit more about that in a second. So let's look forward though. It's not all bad news because the chip industry rethinks Taiwan risk after Pelosi visit, but options are limited here. And what exactly does that mean? Chinese missiles flying over Taiwan, naval drills in the Strait in August, simulated a blockade by China. Semiconductor industry contemplating war over the major chip producing island. This really sums up our current era. War, stress, fun, bad news, scary, Pelosi not doing anything to help anyone. The rest of the article is basically just stress, FUD, and other things like that. Indispensable land beyond our control. Taiwan is used to this, but if you're sitting in the C-suite overseas, it's much more alarming, right? So Taiwan, they're battle hardened. They're seasoned to this. They understand that no matter how much they twist their arm, very little they can do, said the executive. And then we just got Stone Cold Steve Austin down here busting into the ring. Rather, we just continue to invest and come up with better and better projects. Whew. But not everybody's in trouble. Some people are rapidly expanding, like the Bitcoin miner Pow.re begins mining facility construction in Paraguay, acquiring 3,600 micro BTC ASIC miners. Those are those purpose-built Bitcoin mining rigs. The new data centers will manage 12 megawatts of hydroelectric power. The firm has acquired 3,600 watts miners. Still the worst name in mining history, just history of the world maybe. Produced roughly 396 petahash per second. Here I am chasing, double-digit petahash streams. They triple-digit on the way to quadruple-digit. But yeah, the construction is underway here. The first site is expected to be fully operational by the end of 2022. We'll see about that. They claim the second should be ready by the end or just simply the next quarter. And they want to achieve a whopping 0.5 exahash per second by Q2 2023. We mentioned Argo earlier. They raised $27 million to ease liquidity pressures as shares plunge 15%. They also sold 3,400 Antminer S19s to raise $7 million. I can assure you that that was probably a loss. Wow. London-based Bitcoin miner Argo blockchain ARB has raised $27 million after agreeing to issue 87 million shares to a sole investor. Roger Ver, is that you? We never hear about you anymore. An announcement published on YouTube, the firm's snap. Well, you got the CoinDesk has just turned to absolute trash. 5 years ago, they were just like the best leading news source, kind of on average, very popular. But they lost some of their key hires, and now they shove so many things into the webpage now, and all these little banners across the top and videos on the side. And it's just like, you know what, dude? You know what? I got the gist of the article. We're going to go ahead and move on. I'll link out everything down below if you want to dig a bit deeper. But the software used in Bitcoin mining is getting its first big makeover in more than a decade. And this is on CNBC. This is the little mainstream news. And oh, check out these graphics cards, unrelated to Bitcoin mining, but here we are. On Tuesday, a coalition of developers releasing Stratum v2 under an open source license for the industry to test. I'm sure you've heard about Stratum v2 if you've been paying any kind of attention, right? And there's gonna be something we can search in here. They're called brains. And Block, formerly Square, is teaming up with Bitcoin mining company Brains to launch a group to test and fine-tune the open source software before they push mass adoption. Keep in mind, the company Block is a subsidiary of Jack Dorsey, the Bitcoin maximalist, and Twitter CEO, creator, face, whatever, formerly. Basically what this does, much less data needs to be transmitted between miners and pools and could help miners in remote regions of the world with poor internet. I think this is great. It gets you just basically mining more profitably and reliably on poor internet, hotspots, spotty internet, stuff like that. There's a bit more to it, but that's kind of the takeaway. Any kind of just development advancement is great. I'm all about it. Everybody knows that Brains and their slush mining pool they've created, they've just been good actors in the space for a very long time. Their parent company also created Trezor, which is a hardware wallet originally for Bitcoin and expanded to several other altcoins as well. Luxor, who we talked about before, unveiled a derivative for Bitcoin mining, lets institutional investors bet on miners' revenue. Miners can lock in cost of future production at a fixed price. Interesting. Can't read the rest of the article though, so f*** you, Bloomberg. Moving on. Compass Mining, who we do not recommend, we do not endorse, and I'll leave it at that for today. If you have a Twitter account, use a blockchain explorer, or tend to your own Bitcoin node, you probably heard about the difficulty increase. But there are apparently 3 future revenue streams for Bitcoin miners. Let's look into that. So the Lightning Network is a secondary layer for the Bitcoin blockchain. Most miners assume this will suck dry the future fee market, and I feel similar on that. But apparently, miners will stay busy with various transaction types that need to be settled on chain, such as large transactions. You're not going to be paying for your car payment on the Lightning Network. Your Lambo is definitely going to be an on-chain transaction. I mean, we'll see, but there's that. ZKRs, zero-knowledge rollups. Lightning may be here today, ZKRs may be the avenue of the future. These rollups allow for compression and validation off-chain data for the network. For instance, there's work on a compressed version of the Bitcoin state that allows for complete verification and minimal data storage called U-Tree XO. ZKRs are currently live on Ethereum, enabling entire applications to live off-chain. ZKRs are really cool. I'm familiar with them. Seeing them applied to Bitcoin, interesting. We'll see where it goes, but it could be a gateway to unlocking Bitcoin's application layer. Any and all apps built on top of Bitcoin will pay fees to the main chain after processing in a ZKR. That would be crazy. That would be really cool. Imagine basically merging Bitcoin and Ethereum. Then that's what you would have here. That's the potential. I know a lot of people will put a lot of money just to recreate things on the Bitcoin chain. We haven't seen anything notable to date, but that could change. There are some more developments in the making here, right? Next generation of miners. ASICs themselves might change, embracing a multi-coin thesis with physical hardware adoptions. ZKRs and other networks often need physical validators, such as ones that run on graphics cards and CPUs. Christy, who we've had on the channel a couple times throughout the past, an Ethereum miner developer, believes that we may see, in fact, a world where ASIC manufacturers like Bitmain ship Bitcoin miners with ZKR validators inside. We've talked about things like this before. All-in-one hardware, a mining rig, a node, among many other potential things. I love all this. I'd love to see so much more of it. End up with less paperweights and multi-purpose hardware, multi-function hardware, right, if you will. And that will help things be less likely to become a paperweight, become useless and outdated. Even say like the miner aspect of it is just like, see you later, it's not good anymore. You still could have other aspects within it that would make it worthwhile to keep, operate, and hopefully keep it profitable. Binance launches a $5 million lending pool for Bitcoin miners. Soaring energy costs, low Bitcoin prices, high mining difficulty means miners are turning to lenders like Binance, and they've announced a huge funding opportunity here. So to be honest, I don't like this at all, right? So the mining industry is under pressure. We see a lot of the same news regurgitated right here. Bitcoin mining also just hit an all-time high, rising 14%, and it's on track to raise another 4%. So basically within 1 month it will be 18% more difficult to mine a Bitcoin. That is an unprecedented in recent history increase in the difficulty of mining. Very, very, very crazy, precarious, difficult waters to navigate. Binance has insane power and money. To be honest, I don't want them getting further entrenched with anything related to Bitcoin and Bitcoin mining, but they are here with a big fat sum. There's also Maple Finance, and their little tagline thing is they want to be the Shopify of cryptocurrency. And what they utilize is an under collateralized loan. So interesting to see where all that goes, but the takeaway here for today is the fact that they've spun up a $300 million lending facility for troubled Bitcoin miners at a whopping 20% interest rate. Waste from an old coal mine is powering a Bitcoin mine in Pennsylvania town. Interesting, right? Very interesting. Didn't know they had a Bitcoin mine, said local guy. My father was a miner years ago, said a local guy. Publicly traded Stronghold Digital Mining purchased the Panther Creek Energy Facility, a defunct coal plant in town, to power its Bitcoin mine. That's the story, that's the scoop, and I'd love to get, some boots on the ground and tour it and bring you guys a video tour. I will tell you, the Skype co-founder just led a $13 million investment in liquid-cooled Bitcoin mining tech. Fabric Systems aims to make Bitcoin mining greener by building immersion native systems. Look, I'm all about it. Immersion mining is really cool. Touring an immersion mining facility was easily one of the coolest things I've ever done. And it leads to better efficiency, less noise. It's really a good setup, but it does have a more expensive and much more technical upfront cost. Bitmain Antminers. You get an S19 Pro now for less than $2,000. That's crazy. Here's a spot one for $3,200. There are some stipulations with this cheaper one. The KA3 sold out at the price point of $5,300. That's a Cadena KDA miner, not a Bitcoin miner. They're going to pump so many of those into the ecosystem. They're probably going to be making $5 a day, not the $50 a day or so they're projected to. The Litecoin Miner L7 remains in stock. It's still a very high price point, but it is one of the more profitable mining rigs, even as Litecoin and DOGEcoin have been suffering some market cap devaluations. And of course, we have the S19 Hydros here, which is really cool, really powerful, really efficient, bit more technical again to set up. Good news, you can buy the lowly quantity of 188 of them. And at that, you'll get them for $4,000 a unit. Enjoy. That's the latest scoop on Bitcoin miners from Bitmain. Not affiliated with them, not a referral link or anything like that. They're just always the talk of the town when we kind of look at the status of Bitcoin miners and their prices and things like that. There's also this hash price thing by Luxor, and basically it is the expected value of 1 terahash of hashing power per day, basically quantifies how much a miner can expect to earn. And just within the last month, we've had the worst hash price in history. We zoom out, and we are at the bottom of the barrel. People paying 10 grand for rigs that are selling for 2 grand right now within the last year. Really crazy. Bitcoin market cap today, 375 billion. We see the hash price, we see the network difficulty, and the next difficulty adjustment expected is another 4%, so bringing us plus 18% in 1 month. Absolutely crazy. Crazy times to be a Bitcoin miner. And again, to be honest, I'm kind of scared building out a Bitcoin farm because I don't have the best electric rate, and basically until I get my solar panels, earning some juice, I'm in for a rough one. But I push forward, I'm building the infrastructure, and I'll die on this hill. I will follow my sword if I need to. You know, you gotta be bold, you gotta have some conviction there. We'll see where it goes. I hope you like the content, I hope you like the video as well. Please subscribe to the VoskCoin YouTube channel. Basically, we mine coins and we make videos among some other crazy crypto stuff. So, as always, I'm reporting in from VoskCoin HQ, where of course, the fluffiest, our CBO, our Chief Bitcoin Officer, Tails Vosk. Yeah, she's the owner, okay? So salute her. The end. Goodbye. Thumbs up. See you tomorrow, hopefully. Thanks for watching.
Let